All right, welcome everybody to this week's Bandzoogle Office Hours, the weekly YouTube live that we do to go over a specific designated topic to do with marketing yourself as a musician or building out your website, and also just to chat. So if you're here, if you're a Bandzoogle member, if you're not a Bandzoogle member, doesn't matter. Feel free to say hi and chat. We got Faber already in. Thanks for joining us early and popping in and waiting for the start here. When you do come in, let me know your name, where you're from in the chat. Post the kind of music you like, the kind of music you listen to. But most importantly, if you have a website for your music, post a link to your website. I'll be happy to check it out. Next week, we're actually going to be doing sort of free live on the spot website reviews. So if you have a website, come into the live next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. You can post a link to your website. I'll bring it up, take a look at it, and give you some feedback and thoughts on what you could do to build it out a little bit more and what you could do to improve it moving forward to sort of streamline it a little bit. So we'll be doing that next week. But I'd love to see everybody's sites. If you have one built, I'd like to know your name, where you're from, again, what kind of music you play. Say hi in the chat. And if you have any questions along the way at all related to what we're talking about or related to anything to do with music, anything to do with your journey as an independent musician, post them in the chat. Be happy to get to them. If you're watching the replay, usually more people, a lot more people will watch the replay eventually on YouTube than get to be here live. So if you're watching the replay of this and you have any questions, post them down in the comments below, or everything I mentioned before. Let me know where you're from. Let me know your name. Post a link to your website. Let me know the type of music you play and post them down below in the comments. And I'll be happy to check those out and get back to you ASAP. I get notified of those comments instantly. So I'll be happy to have a conversation with you there if you missed the live and we couldn't chat in the moment. Ooh, electronic chill out, Fabro. That's kind of like these days, probably one of my favorite genres. I'm really into synthwave, especially when I'm working. I'll always have synthwave on in the background. It just kind of puts me in the mood and sets the right tone, I think, for focusing for me, and sort of like triggers my creativity as well and feeds into that. So electronic chill out's right up my alley, Fabro. If you have a website, post it. I'd love to check it out. I'd love to hear some of your stuff, or anywhere. If it's not a website, it's just a link to streaming. I'd love to hear some of your stuff. So feel free to post it there. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about something very relevant, and I like synthwave too from 1982. Yes, I'm an 85 baby. Yeah, so same. Couple of years younger than you, but still I do have some fond memories of the late 80s, early 90s, and yeah, synthwave is right up my alley. I think anybody that grew up like within the Atari original Nintendo NES era kind of is a big fan of synthwave, right? It pulls on the right heartstrings, the right nostalgic heartstrings to kind of put you in a good place, I think, at least. So, yeah, today we're going to be talking about 7 ways to promote your new song. So, this is something that I think a lot of independent musicians struggle with. So, my background, I've been working for Bandzoogle for almost 12 years now. I started off part-time in the customer support team, eventually managed the customer support team, and now working on the marketing communication side of things. And even before that, I was working with musicians. I was a musician myself, and I worked managing a couple of bands in Montreal. So I've been around musicians and music for the better part of 2 decades, and I've spoken to a lot of musicians in and outside of Bandzoogle. And I think one of the common struggles, or let's say gray areas more than a struggle, is like, okay, I'm writing music, I've composed this music, now I have this music, what do I do with it? How do I promote it? How do I release it? Right. This is one of the big struggles that people run into. So, what we're going to look at today is 7 tips, 7 tricks on what you could do to go about getting that song out there in terms of promotion and maximizing your chance of getting more eyeballs on it than you normally would. Just give me one moment here while I set up the screen share through this live streaming platform. The screen shares are always a little couple of clicks, so a little bit more challenging to set up, but here we go. Okay. So again, if you do have any questions along the way, please don't be shy. Feel free, jump into chat. Again, it doesn't have to be related to exactly what we're talking about. If there's just anything you'd like to know, anything you'd like me to talk about, feel free to post in the chat as we go here. And again, if you're watching the replay, post in the comments. We can definitely have a conversation there instead. So when it comes to promoting your new song, there is kind of, I'm not going to say unlimited, but there's so many different ways that you could go about doing it, right? And everybody thinks about socials to start with. Socials are the big one, and said, okay, I built up my following there, and this is kind of my main way, my main route to go for promoting it. And that's going to be one, of course, as well. The first sort of outside the box tip that I'd recommend is to find your angle. And this doesn't just go for promoting a new song. This goes for anything to do with any kind of art, whether you're a visual artist, whether you're a musician, whatever it might be. I think these days, especially with sort of this influx and um, there's so much content out there, and everybody has so much content at their fingertips, whether that be on their phone, on TV, wherever it might be. There's an endless amount of choices for things for people to watch and listen to. So if you're a new band or a new artist trying to break through and trying to get some more eyeballs on you, there's more competition than ever. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's easier to get more exposure than ever with all the apps and that we have access to now, but it's a little bit trickier to break through the crowd and break through all the noise. Fabro, it's great because my new single's coming out in 2 weeks. Maybe we can use some of your tips. Hopefully. Yeah, yeah, hopefully. So that's perfect timing for you then, Fabro. That's awesome. Yeah. So if you can think of an angle, if you can think of a niche, then use that as your angle. Use that, tackle that as a way to drive interest for what it is that you're doing. And the point of this suggestion here is that it might be a little bit outside the box of just promoting your song or promoting the music. For example, here, one artist who produced music that was more akin to people dancing when they're like a salsa artist. So instead of when they're coming through and they're writing this new music, so they're saying instead of promoting that you have this new album and trying to get people to come out to these gigs that you're playing, just marketing it as, hey, I'm this artist from town and I'm releasing this new album and I'm going to be playing some gigs. They market it as a dance party. So the gig was marketed everywhere as, hey, this venue is going to be holding a dance party. There's going to be this artist performing at the dance party. And so they marketed their gig as that instead, which garnered a lot more interest than people who were just going to be potentially coming out to see this artist that they may or may not have heard of, even if they know the genre of music. For example, another example, if you're an artist that plays music that could go well with gaming, whether it's retro inspired music, we're just talking about 80s synthwave, then you could go try and get booked at Comic Cons or different gaming conventions. Something, basically go where your audience is as much as possible. And if you can find an angle to promote or to book your gigs that isn't directly just about the music, but is more about the fan base and where they're going to be and what they're already going, what kind of event they're already going to be attending, what venue they're already going to be at. Like, for example, I used to represent a heavy metal band in Montreal. And so one of the things we would do when they wanted to play gigs, it wasn't that I would go advertise that, hey, these people are playing a gig. I would get them booked at heavy metal bars. And there were a couple of them around Montreal and punk bars. And then once they were booked there, sure, they could do their own. This was before the days of social media, about 20 years ago. But if I were doing that today, yeah, then you push it down on your socials, which is one thing we're going to talk about a little bit later. But you want to go where your fans are instead of setting up shop somewhere and expecting people to come to you. So that's the first suggestion. And that's not going to be applicable to everybody, right? Sometimes you might be, well, I'm a pop artist. So where's my niche? What's my angle with this? And my answer to that would be, well, I would need to know a lot more about you and have to come up with something creative. But if there is something that you can think of that's a little bit obvious, and that could be just going to genre venues, bars, whatever it might be, like I mentioned with the example of the heavy metal band. And so the fan base is already there, or going to certain types of conventions and trying to get booked to play there, where there's going to be an aligning fan base that's already there, or booking a dance party where that you're going to be playing at, you're the main act. If you play music that's conducive to dancing, right? If you're a DJ, then you might just want to book a themed party instead of advertising it as, hey, this is me, I'm a DJ and I'm playing a gig. So find your angle and work the angle if possible. Okay. Number two, build your EPK. So this is a whole other thing. If you're curious about electronic press kits, you can go into Google or go into YouTube, especially. We have a lot of good videos on this channel right here. So you can just search on our channel on YouTube, Bandzoogle EPK. We have tons of videos on how to create an EPK, how to build one from scratch. So there's a ton of information there anybody who is interested. But what an EPK is it's basically an online resume. It's a one-page version of a website. It can be an addition to your existing website. It can be kind of separate from your existing website, something whereas it's not in the main menu that everybody can see, but it's a standalone page that you can link to. But it's a one-page electronic resume that either serves a very specific purpose, like promoting a new release, promoting an upcoming gig, or it's just a generalized resume that you can make available on your website for media. So build out an EPK that promotes this specific track. Again, if you're curious on how to do that, we have tons of free resources on our YouTube channel and our help articles at benzigal.com on how to do that. But it would essentially be a one page website that just has all the information related to that track. So a little description about it, the track for streaming, possibly download or sale if you want to, some promotional images that people can use if they're going to be sharing or talking about the track. And it's all available in one place. And then what you can do from there is that you have this one link with all the visuals presenting the track in a really appealing way. Again, with the streaming version of it, a downloadable version of it. And you can send that off to anybody who you might want to listen to it, to possibly play it. So people who curate playlists, radio stations, YouTube channels, different creators who might be interested in using your track, perhaps. You can send off this link just as a in bulk to anybody who might be interested, and everything they need to know is there in this one little electronic resume. When you're building an EPK page, if using Bandzoogle, there's all different kinds of what are called page templates. So you can choose a template for a specific purpose, and it's going to automatically set up the layout for you, which is really cool. So it saves you a lot of time. So when you're creating an EPK, you can create an EPK, and you could choose the type to promote music, to promote an upcoming release, to promote a single, I believe it's called. If you're doing one track, or if it's an album that's going to be coming out, there's one for promoting an album too. And it'll have sort of like a suggested layout for you that you can just plug all your content into. So it takes a lot of the sort of guesswork out of it, which is amazing. So definitely check that out. Create an EPK for your new release, and then you can just send that out. It's an easy one, URL with all the information again that they would need on this one release, with a download link, or they can stream it and send that out to all the people that you might want to get talking about it. And it's a great way to encourage people to share it. So this kind of leads into the next one, which is get yourself on playlists. So there's a couple of discovery platforms, as I call them right now, that are really effective for new music getting discovered. One is, of course, let's say Spotify, and one is something different that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think TikTok is one of the best discovery platforms for new music these days. But playlisting is huge right now. So everybody knows what a playlist is, but when I say playlisting is huge, what do I mean exactly? Well, think about it. Anybody who has Spotify, right? If you go onto Spotify and you search for, if you're looking for a specific genre of music, right? So you're in the mood for listening to, electronic chill out like Fabro makes over here. So you might go into Spotify, search for electronic chill out, and then there's going to be a bunch of playlists that come out, or you can search specifically for playlists, right? And so what a lot of people do is, I do this all the time to try and discover new music. You'll go search for a specific playlist and a type of music that you're in the mood for listening to, put that on random, right? Hit it up and then let it play. And then if you discover a new song, it's like, hey, I like that. What's that one? Check it out. And then, hey, boom, you've discovered a new artist, follow them, like the song, add it to your like list on Spotify. So playlisters, people who curate and make these playlists, are a thing, and they take this very seriously, and it's competitive. People want to sort of keep their playlists fresh. They want people coming back. They want people listening to their playlists. They want people coming back to keep listening to their playlists. So they're always looking for new, fresh content. And so it's a great thing to do to reach out to playlisters directly through Spotify, as you can do, which you can, if you find a good playlist that you like or something that's relevant to the genre, you can look up the user that created the playlist, and contact them. But there are services like Groover, and there's a service called Submit Hub as well. We do have sort of an association with Groover, so if you're interested, there's a promo code that you can use right there. I'll make these slides available for download after, but you can also just watch the replay. If you're watching this live right now, you can just wait for the replay to be on YouTube once it's over, and you can just pause it here and use that promo code, and you get 15% off on Groover there, which is awesome. And what they do is they get you onto different playlists. So they do a lot of the legwork for you, which is really useful. And they're a really popular service these days for that reason, because streaming platforms like Spotify are huge, huge for discovery, for people finding you, and for, getting new fans. So definitely make use of that if you haven't already. That is a huge, huge, huge useful piece of advice that we could give you. Now, alert and mobilize your tribe is number 4. What is your tribe? Your tribe are your followers. So when we say alert and mobilize your fans, that of course means posting on socials, letting them know what's going on. It doesn't just have to be social posting, though. We do encourage growing a mailing list through your website. Mailing list is actually so much more effective than contacting people through social media. As we know, like these days, social media is so dependent on the algorithms. So even if you have somebody following you on Instagram and you post something on Instagram, there's no guarantee that people that even follow you are going to see it when they log in and check out their timeline, because what they see is so dependent on their algorithms. So email marketing is extremely, extremely effective. And the read rate, the amount of people who see a new post, or let's say an email that you send out, it's so much higher with email marketing than it is on social media. The numbers are extremely low on socials in terms of the amount of people who follow you that see something that you post right away. So not only posting on socials to let people know, like, hey, I've got a new track coming out, download it, share it. And people are willing to do that too. What you can do, I've seen people do this a lot now, where you share something to your fans and you're like, hey, we have this new track. We're trying to get it off the ground. I'd really appreciate if everybody would give it a share in their socials. And what you can do is you can share it in a story with a link to where people can stream it, or where people can download it or buy it. And you also, on the next slide, let's say on your story, on the next post, you can be like, hey, everybody, it'd help a lot if you can share the last story that I just posted with a link to the song to get the word out a little bit. Post it to your stories and help get the word out, and encourage your friends to listen to the track and maybe share it as well. And you'd be surprised with the kind of groundwork that you could do, and the kind of growth that you can obtain just from that. It sounds a little bit basic. And of course, not everybody's going to do it, but you'd be surprised how many people are willing to chip in and share. And that's going to feed into something that's coming up a bit later, the next one. But smart links are a big one as well. So what smart links are: link in bio. Everybody's heard about link in bio, right? I mean, these days it's kind of standard on your Instagram profile to have a link in bio embedded in the description on the top of your profile. With the smart links feature at Bandzoogle, you can create a link page that you can link to from all your socials. And this has become kind of like a standard thing. Now, when people look up an artist, they find their profile. One of the first things I do is I click on their links just to see what's going on. And you can promote things in your links directly. So you say, sure, you have links to all your socials where you're streaming, where people can find you. But at the top of your little link tree, as it's called here, you can have like a button for new single, insert title of your single out now. And it's a good way, because so many people are inclined to click on your links page and check that out. It's a good way to sort of drive more traffic to the single if you have it really prominent on your link page. So that's a great way to promote as well. And number 6, cultivate an engaging social media following. So what this means, simple: post regularly and engage with people in the comments, engage with people in chat, reply to them, have a conversation with them in the comments, run YouTube lives, run lives on Instagram every once in a while, talk to your fans, make them feel like they're connected with you. The more engaged that your audience is on social media, even if it's a very small group, it doesn't matter. The more engaged that they are, the algorithms are going to deem your content as being more important, as being more appealing, because you're getting more engagement. It's going to push it out to even more people within the algorithm, and it's going to help. And the more engaged people are, the more likely they are to share your stuff as well. And the last one, which kind of ties into what I was mentioning before about posting stories and encouraging people to share it, you can run contests. So one thing that I see people do that's extremely effective is they'll post something for their fans. Like they'll post, hey, we have a new album out, we have a new track, click here to stream it. And then they'll post another story saying like, hey, if you share it to your own, I'll be taking, and tag me in your post, I'll take a look at everybody who shared it. And we'll be running a giveaway where I'll be sending a free vinyl, I'll be sending a free t-shirt, I'll be sending a free merch item to one person who shares it, let's say. These contests are extremely effective to get people engaged, especially to get people sharing and to get people reposting things on their socials. It's an extremely effective way. So this builds off number 5. I was talking about before. Definitely run contests. Run even if you have a small social media following, moderately large, whatever it might be. Encourage people, incentivize them to share your material. Give them a reason, give them a to interact and to help you out in that sense. It's going to go a long way. It's going to go a really long way. Well, we're coming to the end of our time here. This was a good one. There's so much information here, but hopefully this was helpful for everybody just to give you a couple of ideas. Of course, we're not going into too much depth on the detailing of all that, but I mean, what you can do is if you have more questions about that, of course, post in the comments down below in the video here. Anything, if you'd like to know a little bit more about any of those steps, post it there, and I will take a look and I'll get back to you. You can also, if you have any questions about Bandzoogle, how to achieve anything, let's say like an EPK page or the smart links, you can reach out to our support team in your help tab. They'll be happy to walk you through setting up anything. Eighth tip for other musicians to watch the live shows on Bandzoogle channel. That's a great tip. Thanks, Fabro. Oh, another one. I kind of mentioned this, but seriously, and especially for people who might be a little bit, if you're outside of Gen Z, if you're a little bit older, even if you're Gen X or whatever it might be, or an elder millennial like me, not everybody is making full use of TikTok, and some people have a negative association with TikTok, which is a little bit unfortunate, especially for musicians. Because if I had to, I got asked this question. I did a talk at Full Sail University in Florida for their music marketing program a couple of months ago, and one of the questions. This question came up worded slightly differently a few times, which is basically in 2024, what do you think is the best platform for musicians to get discovered? And I think everybody expected it to be Spotify, and that I would say, label your music accordingly to get associated with specific genres. And when people search for those genres in Spotify, they might find you, the whole getting on a certain on playlist, right? So people can find you that way. That's what everybody kind of assumed would say. But my biggest answer was TikTok. TikTok is currently the best way for new music to get discovered. And if you're not sure how that works, I'll cue you in a little bit for on how the algorithm works for TikTok. And this was 2 years ago that I read this, so this might have changed. But if it's changed a little bit, at least it'll give you an idea of in general how this works. So with TikTok, what they do, anybody who posts anything, you create a new account, you post a video onto TikTok. What it does is it pushes it out. It used to be 10. It used to work with increments of 10. Again, I don't know if this is still accurate. So it used to push it out to a group of 10 random people. Out of those 10 random people, if they had an amount, let's say 6 out of 10, if 6 out of 10 of those random people interacted with it in a way that they deemed was positive, like they liked it, they commented, or they watched more than half of it, then they deemed it a success and they pushed it out to another 10. And if the same thing happened in those 10, it pushed it out to another 10 and another 10 and another 10. And that all happens pretty much in real time. This is all happening like almost within, instantly. And so you can see that sometimes you can post videos and there might be 6 views, or there might be 15, 17 views on it. And it's like, oh, it died. Then nothing happens. And then you can post that same video a day later, and then all of a sudden there's just randomly 40,000 views on it. I've seen this happen. This has happened to me on my personal accounts for different projects I work on. And you can't, at first it's a little confusing, like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like you're seeing all these views come in and you're getting all this exposure and these followers are coming in. And just from this one video that you think is really cool, but you're just like, hey, like I posted something similar 7 times and nothing happened. And each of these videos had 20, 30 views. And all of a sudden something hit the algorithm. It's really just, did it get posted at the right time where a right group of people interact with it and watched it and liked it and got pushed out to more and more and more and more. So it's kind of like a little bit of a randomized crapshoot. Of course, having good content helps, but experiment on TikTok, because if you can post little snippets of your music, little snippets of a live performance, little snippets of a music video if you have one, or even just some kind of graphic or some kind of animated piece of art with a little snippet of the music, something that's visually interesting, you can let your creativity run wild at that point. But if you can create something that's going to get people watching, like keep their attention for 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, but that's going to show off your music, that is a fantastic way, because people, that's I discover so much new music through Instagram Reels and TikTok these days. Just that way, you find a video and it's like, oh, this really cool. Somebody, an artist will set up in their living room and just have sort of like a zoom in of their guitar playing a really cool riff from one of their songs. Like, oh my god, this is awesome! This person's really talented. Check out their profile really quick. They have a link in bio, and so they're on Spotify. Check it out. Give them a follow on Spotify. Like this one song that they were playing from, and you can be discovered by a ton of new people on there. So that's my addition to that list would be TikTok, and definitely Fabro's addition from before. Thanks everybody who came to check this out. We're up, we're out of time for today. We do these every week, but also I post on the channel regularly. So if you're looking for sort of tips and tricks, and if there's anything you'd like to see on the channel, anything you'd like to learn a little bit more of, post in the comments down below as well. We're always open for suggestions of what people are looking for. We're going to keep doing this more and more and more, and kind of like growing the content out here. So if it's stuff that you find useful, if you're just looking for inspiration, if you're looking for ideas on how you can promote your music, keep an eye. There's going to be stuff coming regularly. Again, if you're watching the replay of this, please post down below, say hi, let me know where you're from. If you have a website, post a link down to your website down below. Um, if you haven't given Bandzoogle a try and you're curious and you don't have a website yet, there's going to be a link in the description that you can use to get 15% off. Definitely use the link. It's also in the description of any of our YouTube videos on the channel. So give that a look for and check it out, and give Bandzoogle a try. It's free for 30 days. You can build out your website, and tons of great features on there. Commission-free music stores, merch stores. You can sell e-tickets to any events that are upcoming. You can sell digital downloads. The possibilities are endless, and it's really easy to use and really quick to set up. So give it a try and use the link in the description for 15% off your first year, and also 30 days free. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Uh, give this video a like if you got a kick out of it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and keep an eye open. We do these every week. And again, we post every week as well. So keep an eye open for tips and tricks to be posted on the channel. And please, I'd love checking out people's websites. Being, working for Bandzoogle, it's one of my favorite things. So post a link to your website in the comments down below. I'd love to check it out. And again, next week, if you are seeing this, so next Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be doing live website reviews. So if you have a website and you'd like me to take a look at it and give you some compliments, some feedback, some suggestions on what I think you could add to it to make it a little bit more effective, um, pop in next Thursday and I'll take a look at your website for you, and we'll do that live. It'll be fun. All right. Take care, everybody, and have a great day.